Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning, khush amdeed. Ji ayanu, goedemorgen, ishbata.
Pagheragale, ni hao, chunishumme, washmale, ohio, gonzaimes, guten morgen, hola, boyor, privyet, kaifahal, hale shuma chatore, ahlan wasalan, marhaba, buna, mucho, gracias, swabia, balli karaya, and thank you very much everybody for tuning into PTV World. You're definitely watching World this morning alongside the very fantastic, the very superb, the very amazing, the very talented, the very hardworking Miss Shiza Hashmi, and I happen to be Shahzad Ehsan Khan. And before I say anything, I think today I'm just going to ask Shiza, hi, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for asking. And again, thank you for all the kind words. But I have a question before we do move on. I know every other day your energy sort of exceeds yesterday as well. And I'm like, how is this humanly possible? This guy operates on something that is not in my diet, first of all. But you tell me, mashallah, you're doing great today. What's different?
All right, so, I'm very happy.
Okay.
And there's a reason why I'm very happy because, I keep on kind of sharing my spiritual and religious journey as well. So imagine that, alhamdulillah, for the last 2 years, I have tried not to miss out on a single prayer as well. Even if I, God
and
forbid,
I can vouch for that. I've seen it.
Even if I, God forbid, miss out on it, so what I do is that, I will offer my qaza prayer as well. But today, the best part was that, they say that if, your eye opens up at tahajjud, that means that actually Allah is actually calling you. So it wasn't really tahajjud, but, as soon as it was the Fajr prayer, and so I was up, I was really very fresh, and I was like, hey, you know what, this is my calling from Allah. So I really need to be out there. So, and then all of a sudden, there was this shaitan in me, which kind of held me back and was like, the water's going to be so cold and everything. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to do it for Allah. Allah's been doing so many things for me. I really need to do that. So I offered my prayers. And the best part is that this is something where people is actually stuck. People are stuck. And that is that, people are like, okay, if we get up, if we do the ablution and then we come back and we offer our prayers, we might not go back to sleep. So imagine I offered my prayer, I prayed for whatever I wanted to pray, alhamdulillah, Allah me please kabul karna. And then all of a sudden, as soon as I was on the bed, I fell asleep. And
nice.
Imagine that, when I actually have to wake up for work, which is actually 7 or 7:30 a.m. in the morning, so my mom called me, I was up, and then I slept back as well. I was like, no, I'm not doing that. So I'm very happy, alhamdulillah, and I hope that I continue to do so. And this is something I wanted to share with everybody, and that is that, ladies and gentlemen, prayer is the only medium in between you and Allah where you communicate and you kind of, subdue right in front of Allah as well. So please make sure that you ask, because prayer is the key to success in life.
Definitely, and I totally agree with that. How often, Shahzad, we find ourselves in a situation where we're like, oh my God, I wish I could talk to Allah directly, or I wish Allah could, at this moment, I wish God, for whatever power you believe in, because we go in so many different countries, not only Muslim countries, right? So for us, I mean, speaking on behalf of us, there are so many times I wish Allah would talk to me directly, or I talk to Him. This is the medium, of course. I mean, prayers, that is how you talk to Him directly, and He talks to you directly as well, which is absolutely beautiful. Thank you for sharing this with us.
It's a surreal feeling.
Definitely, and I really hope this inspires a lot of people out there for today, for tomorrow as well.
And imagine this is the reason for me to be happy. So, ladies and gentlemen, eventually you will realize how happy you're going to get eventually when you start to pray all the prayers as well. And, just make sure that you do what Allah has asked you to do, and Allah will never leave you abundant or alone over here in this world as well.
No question in that.
Other than that, people out there in 46 different countries who are actually watching us on their television screens, a very warm welcome. Anybody and everybody who's even not watching, we hope and pray that you guys are doing wonderfully well and that you're ready to kickstart your day with us. So first things first, we have some interesting updates.
Absolutely. So, well, actually, this was 2 to 3 days back, probably. I saw a picture on Instagram, and it was so heartwarming.
It's going to be on the television.
Yeah, we're going to talk about it just when you see it on your screens.
Wow.
Well, this was so heartwarming, right, Shahzad? Do you want to share the story behind it?
All right, so imagine, Shahzad, that Prime Minister Imran Khan obviously has got a very, very soft heart as well, and he went to meet the differently abled artist Umar Jaral on Tuesday, who presented him with his painting. Umar Jaral, who actually happens to be 34, is a painter and artist with cerebral palsy. He's known for his flawless paintings and had been in the news since 2019, when he actually presented the painting of General Qamar Javed Bajwa to the then DGISPR Asif Ghafoor Saab. I worked with him very closely. He has been painting since the age of 12 years. Jaral has been suffering from cerebral palsy since birth. That has affected his muscle movements. Despite the challenges, Umar Jaral continued his passion for painting. The differently abled artist painted the portrait of young Imran Khan from his youth years. Wow, I think when we talk about Prime Minister Imran Khan, he always look young. It's certainly not about the youth he is. Whenever you look at him, you're like, yeah, you know, he's just still so handsome and intelligent and smart, mashallah. So I think, Umar, thank you very much. I think on behalf of the Prime Minister, I might not have the right, but I want to say thank you to you as well. That was a great gesture. Yeah.
Definitely so. And I think Imran Khan Sahib himself was very sweet enough and kind enough to do that. Other than that, I feel like under his, of course, leadership and ever since PTI came into being, I've been seeing a lot of developmental work. People can agree to disagree, but in terms of taking a underdeveloped and then a developing country onto the path of something, you know, in comparison to their neighbors as well, I think it's a really, really hard job. And of course, it takes a true leader to do that. And well, recently, of course, in the near future, Pakistan is going to be chairing the high-level conference, which will obviously be, you know, taking place over a few days of G77, which means, of course, the group of 77 countries, which is the largest intergovernmental grouping of the developing countries within the United Nations. Wow. Well, the development comes during 45th ministerial meeting of the group of 77 and China, held in virtual format. The Foreign Minister, Shah Mahmood Qureshi, addressed the meeting and thanked the 134 members of G77 in China for reposing their trust in Pakistan to lead the group in 2022. Well, of course, all the best of luck to Pakistan and all the other countries. And I really hope and pray we come to fruitful solutions of all the issues that will be discussed, and we build stronger ties with our neighbors and, well, all other countries as well.
Exactly, and that's what we want.
Yeah, definitely, that is what we want.
Exactly, and which is why, you know, you have to say something.
We both have to say the same thing. Why don't you go ahead?
All right, so I think I'll go ahead as well. So ladies and gentlemen, I think I'm going to start with my own personal experience, and that is that, alhamdulillah, I've been living in Islamabad for more than 30 years now, more than 3 decades, even though I'm not that old. But now, all of a sudden, you know, in I think previous 2 years, we have seen that, you know, that Islamabad is even getting water scarce. And this is something which is really important. And, you know, the SDGs talk about that as well. You know, everybody needs to be concerned about it. You know, for a country which where the economy is partially now dependent on agriculture as well. I think that for an economy to be dependent on agriculture, I think we are at risk of getting water scarce once again. Because, you know, within agriculture, ladies and gentlemen, there are newer practices which are being included, which really do not have to consume a lot of water. But with livestock agriculture over in Pakistan, due to lesser technological interventions or lesser interest in moving towards better solutions, I think that we will be getting water scarce, and God forbid there will be a lot of difficulty for a lot of people. So for a layman, you know, how can we preserve water? How can we kind of make sure that we make the best use of the water? And for all the industries using all of that water, and then whatever, you know, God forbid, goes into that water as well, we really need to clarify that as well. We really need to kind of, you know, there are plants which are going to purify that water. People have moved on to such a technologies as well, where even if you pick up some water from within the jungle, you know, you just shake it in the bottle and it's drinkable. And I do not want to say that, but imagine that people who have even used water to, you know, kind of clear their defecation, you know, even that water has been recycled and people have been drinking that water as well. So imagine that this is the level where, God forbid, if we do not join hands today, ladies and gentlemen, we will have to reach. No matter what happens, I think that people really need to put their head to that as well. You know, domestic use is quite a lot. Every time it's winters, you know, we go out for shave or ablution. I didn't do that. Today early in the morning, I actually did my ablution with cold water as well, but they waste a lot of water just in the search of hot water, and at times the geyser is not on and you've been fooled by the water as well. So we need to talk about that, and to talk about that, Shiza, we're very lucky that we've actually been joined by somebody who, ladies and gentlemen, first of all happens to be working with the International Water Management Institute, which is wonderful, and he will be here to talk about how me, Shiza, everybody out there can actually preserve water as well. Ladies and gentlemen, he's the principal researcher for climate and water governance. He's a company representative of IWMI. He is Dr. Mohsin Hafiz. Hello, sir. Assalamu alaikum. Subha bakhair. Good morning. How are you?
Assalamu alaikum ji. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Sir, thank you very much for joining us.
Yes, मेरा मोहसिन हफीज़ है. इमी पहले मैं सबसे पहले अपने इंस्टीट्यूट को इंट्रोड्यूस करवा देता हूँ.
We'll have to do it in English, sir.
Okay, all right. International Water Management Institute is an international research organization working in Pakistan since 1986.
Wow.
And our vision is basically water secure world. So we are working around in 30 countries around the globe. And we are directly helping not only for the water for the agriculture, but water for the urban security and how to deal with the climate shocks and all sort of things there.
Yes.
So in Pakistan, where we are doing it, we are, as you have rightly pointed out, that the Pakistan is considered water scarce, but we have plenty of water. The biggest problem we are having it, there is a poor water governance, and we don't have the precise information about the water availability, how much water available, how much is the water demand there, and that kind of mismanagement of water is one of the fundamental thing there.
Yes,
this is our piece of conversation, sir,
Okay.
and very sorry.
Yep.
But sir, for an international institute which actually, their principles are based on research and have been existing within Pakistan since 1986, how come you still do not know where the water lies and in which areas do you need to work?
No, we know that one, that how much is
But
information.
the other people who are actually on those seats of governance.
Yes, seat of the governance. So that's what I'm talking about. Overall, we need to, because we consider water, we consider three sources: either rainwater, or then the groundwater, and then the surface water.
Yeah.
And as the dynamics are changing, then we need to know that one, how much is, surface water availability, how much is the groundwater, how much is the rainfall, and how once we know that one, and we have the information about the water availability, excellent information on surface water, but for groundwater we don't have that kind of information available. For the rainwater we have the information available, but how that water is managed, that's one of the biggest problem. And that's where the International Water Management Institute is working with the federal government, Ministry of Water Sources, all the provincial government to provide them some solution for climate resilient development.
But that is brilliant, and definitely we are looking forward to all of the solutions that you guys will come to, because this is a collaborative effort between your institution and Pakistan's government and semi-government institutions as well. Now the thing is, when we talk about international organizations or institutions operating in different, especially developing countries, you said you're here since 80s, and then your website had the stats of Pakistan first of all having enough water, then at a warning stage, and then being water scarce. So if you're operating since the 80s and you are brilliant at your research and you are collaborating with the authorities as well, when you did get the warning, what did you do?
I think that we need to look around the broader perspective. Okay,
Okay.
Pakistan was water abundant.
Yes.
At the time of partition.
Yes.
Then we have a rapid population growth. We have urbanization. We are moving from the lower middle income countries to the development. So this pattern of the water consumption is changing, and that helps. That create a lot of problem in terms of the water availability. We didn't build so many dams, and if we talk about the water storage, we have it only 30 days of storage. If we compare to that, the Australia, which is around 600 days, to US around more than 600 days, and then even in India it's more than 350 days.
Oh wow.
And where we are sending, what that means, just in a very simple way. If we have that one, we have the 3 months of the monsoon rainfall pattern, where a monsoon season, and where we are getting around 84% of water. And the remaining months we have it only 16% of the water in 9 months. But we are only able to store the water for 30 days. What will happen if we don't have the reservoirs? And we will not be able to sustain it. But reservoir is not only a solution. We need to think about, we only, unfortunately, in the last 20 years, 30 years, we were not able to control the population. We were not able to control improving the water conservation, not educating the ordinary person. When I'm doing a wuzu or ablution, what I need to do it. When I'm using basically cooking cleaning the pots at the kitchen, what I need to do it. When I'm using it basically car washing, instead of having the hose and then connecting it, what I can do it, why don't I use a one bucket? And other important thing is how you recycle of water.
Right,
that's important, sir, and we would definitely want to move on towards the solutions and how we can really improve the situation these days as well. But sir, to get to the crux of the problem, because you said that it's poor governance, and you said that IWMI is actually working with the federal government as well and the provincial government. So it feels like as if that that they really were very unaware of the facts from back in 1990s and 2000. Oh yaar, kidhar se aa gaye ho, kaun sa pani ka masla, koi masla hi nahi hai. So I know that we really cannot blame a person like you whose sole job is to kind of do the research and let them know that, hey, you know what, these are the figures. You want to do it, your choice. You don't want to do it, your choice.
It's the state's responsibility eventually.
It's the state's responsibility, and we know. But sir, with the current government, alhamdulillah, I think PTI, they're very vigilant on each and everything, in each and every minute detail, which might have an impact on the nation itself.
Yep.
So how do you think that things are changing, in this current regime of Mr. Imran Khan as well? And do you think that, God forbid, if you're not going to talk about solutions as of now, God forbid in 2025 or 2030, or talking about SDGs as well, we might fail miserably?
Okay, thank you. That's a very important question. One first thing is, the last time was mega infrastructure was built in 1970s. Now this government has built they are going to build 2 larger dams, and that will increase our capacity from 30 days to 45 days. Still not 400, but that's a big movement. Other thing is where this government is quite keen on and improving on the climate to deal with the climate shocks. And then the government is plantation and all the things are there, and the government is also going for the some localized solution. Just to give you the emphasis on that one, in Islamabad, we have it around 1500 millimeters of rainfall. In July we had it. There was a flash flooding in the 11th sector. But the problem was there. We have it. We need to think about localized rainwater harvesting, and we need to go for introducing the nature-based solution wherever. So how we could inject the water to the groundwater and making sure that the quality of water is not compromised, and that localized harvesting need to be done, because the large infrastructure has been built, our natural pathways has been closed, and that's creating a lot of problems.
Exactly.
Now with the government and with the especially with the partnership of Pakistan Council of Research in Water Sources, we have done the comprehensive study for Islamabad, where the government is putting their effort for installing around 100 wells for the artificial recharge in Islamabad, and we will be doing it something in Islamabad, also demonstration of nature-based solution.
I think that's wonderful. But sir, there's one more concern as well, and a lot of people have been complaining about it, and that is that unfortunately, because we do have a lot of people. Obviously, we do not have to ask the government. We can go as deep as we want, get the water out. But some people do say, and I've heard about these complaints as well, that the sewerage water at times accidentally do mix up with the bore water as well. So how do you think that you can actually go underneath and then build a newer structure where it's going to be safer for people, or in days to come as well? Do you think that's going to happen? Because the depth people are actually digging into, kind of, there are a lot of pipes. We might not have planned so many things as well. The sewerage line is mixed with the drinking water, and these problems are coming up day after another one as well. So do you think that there will be a solution to such problems?
And my question is sort of not similar but in line with that, so I'll just throw them together. Do you think that the common man should have the authority to start the fracking, or what we call it, hydraulic fracturing? Because in all even the governed societies or housing societies, and even the federal capital, families are supposed to, or they're even allowed to, frack outside their home if they need the water. Shouldn't it be a governmental thing?
Yeah, sure. That's why I was emphasizing on that one. We need to have the comprehensive information about the groundwater. How much is the groundwater available, and then you may have the water right, you may have the land right, but water right is not there. We need to untangle that one, and that's where the important thing is. We need to know how much water is available, and then the government will be the only agency who will allow. We have already discussing with the CDA and other working around on that one, as well as with Pakistan Council of Research in Water Sources. What could be biggest problem in Pakistan is we have so many policies, but for implementation we don't have the mechanism. For implementation, you need to have the data availability, and that's where the crux coming. You mentioned about the sewerage water connection there. I think we need to think about, because our problems are so complex. So we need to, let's say, when we are developing a new housing society, can we develop a proper mechanism on that one? How we will put the sewerage lines, and how we are going to do that one? There are ways we need to recharge the reuse of the water into the way, so that we could use it for some purpose. We need to categorize the water. Do we need to use the potable water for flushing? It's a sin. That's wrong. So we need to think about that one, how we could do it for the localizing.
Is it portable, the ones that we get in our toilets?
Yeah.
Okay.
We are getting, because at the house level, we are not getting we are getting the one amount of water.
Okay. The same
amount of water. So we need to categorize that kind of water classification.
And even that, half of the houses in Islamabad do not get that. We used to call it supply ka pani, or supply water as well. And then most of the people do not get it. And I think there's another problem with that, and that is that, God forbid, if things continue to go on like this, there is a water mafia in Karachi, where certainly, people who live in DHA actually have to spend 50 to 60,000 rupees to get a tanker every day to come and fill up their tanks as well. So that is a problem. I'm sorry, sir, I'm cutting you short over here, and I want you to complete as well. But in addition to that, so that we can quickly move on towards the solutions. Now imagine that even if we are cooking rice at home, we actually have to put in 2 or 3 glasses of water. Imagine bunji. Bunji is actually, or I think munji or bunji is when you actually go and sow the rice as well, and then it uses a lot of water, in harvesting rice as well. imagine that, Pakistan is obviously a developing country, and now a lot of people want to move on to urban areas as well. A lot of construction is being done. A lot of water once again is being consumed. So any area and every area in terms of development is using or consuming a lot of water. We have the biggest ever and one of the most amazing canal system over here in Pakistan, which obviously, in the previous governments and this government, a lot of Balsafai used to take place as well. But now I think that we really need to move on to smarter solutions, or how the world is doing so as well, bringing in the sprinklers, making sure that, per acre there will be less water consumed. Do you think that now is the time to kind of think about it and take an action, or do you think we are already very late?
No, I think the time is right. Just to first comment on that one for the rice. Typically in Pakistan, for growing a 1 kg of rice, which we are consuming at home, we are using 5,000 to 6,000 liters of water. Typically around the globe, which is around 500 to 600 liters, we are using it 5,000 to 6,000 liters to produce 1 kg of rice.
Whoa.
Is it the land that requires it, or is it our stupidity?
It's our practices, the way which we are doing
sorry.
it.
Yeah.
The thing is, what IMI is doing it, along with the Pakistan Council of Research in Water Sources, we are organizing a next week Pakistan Water Week, and in that Water Week we will be bringing a lot of international experts who have already worked in Pakistan. They are bringing the best global practices and interacting with the government stakeholders, interacting with the private stakeholders, interacting with the community, and that sharing that kind of scientific knowledge. What's the pathway? How we could develop the sustainable solution to improve the water security situation in Pakistan.
And this conference will be taking place on the 6th and 7th of December 2021. Obviously, Dr. Arif Alvi is actually going to be there in the inaugural session as well. Please let us know about that. And smart solutions, sir. Please go ahead.
Okay. I think that the conference has two segments. One is 6 and 7, where we have the President Arif Alvi will be there as a chief guest, and then we will be having we are bringing all the development partners, all the stakeholders, all the government agencies, and have a series of discussion in parallel, talking about water management for urban, talking about floods and drought, talking about disaster, talking also about the role of women leadership in water management and food security, and how the media could play a role in improving water conservation. So, different sessions there. The ministries of water sources, food security, climate change, all ministries are on board. And then the second session is on basically on exhibition and national conference and exhibition, which will be on 8th and 9th, and that will be showing some certain instrumentation, certain climate resilient basic technology, and how the technology could help in the urban water sector, in agriculture sector, and how we could introduce the water conservation technologies.
Brilliant, brilliant. And best of luck for that, of course, to you, your entire team. We're really looking forward to whatever the solutions you guys will bring, because like you said, research was a majorly missing part in Pakistan in terms of many sustainable developmental projects, and you are bringing the right kind of research over here. So on the base of that, we do sort of hope to bring the best results out of it as well.
Having the principal researcher over here on the show with us, ladies and gentlemen, obviously I think that we feel amazing, because we kind of got to get our hands onto the first-hand knowledge, which actually was procured by them as well. So, sir, thank you very much for raising awareness. I know it's very important. Next time, ladies and gentlemen, I think what we can do is that we can actually ask our mummies to kind of not do the pocha-fai thing every day with a bucket full of water and washing the parking area and giving water to the plants every single day. We really need to practice it. If we will practice it together, obviously we will be making sure that our future generations will have enough water to survive. Thank you very much, Dr. Saab, for being with us. Lovely to be in conversation with you. Thank you very much once again. And for everybody who's out there, ladies and gentlemen, God forbid, if such a problem occurs in your life, your heart aches, and you're like, okay, what's going wrong? And you really need to be so healthy and you want to feel great as well. But, I still remember this practice in England. Whenever I'm there, if God forbid the government kind of sends a notice to everybody's place, and what they tell you is that you're not allowed to wash your car or water your plants as well for the next 2 or 3 days. Yes, and the police comes up, and if the neighbor kind of complains about you, they give you a fine of 200 to 300 pounds. You certainly don't want. But obviously, I think it's going to take time, but we're already in that direction. The technological interventions brought in by the PTA government will actually help us kind of reach to our goals as well.
Definitely. With this, of course, we're heading out to a short break. When we come back, we are going to discuss Shahzad's heartache. Don't you worry, guys. Stay tuned. Good morning.
It's not.
Sarangi is a bowed, short-necked string instrument from subcontinent, which is used in Pakistani classical music. Its flexible tunability and its ability to produce a large play of tonal color and emotional nuance makes it unique. Carved from a single block of wood, the sarangi has a box-like shape with 3 hollow chambers called stomach, chest and brain. It's usually around 2 feet long and around 6 inches wide. It has 3 melody strings and 11 to 37 sympathetically vibrating metal strings.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. For everybody who just got tuned into PTV World, you watching World this morning alongside my very amazing, wonderful co-host, Ms. Shiza Hashmi, and I happen to be Shahzad Hassan Khan. Earlier, we were talking about how to preserve water, smart solutions. There's a conference which is taking place. President Arif Alvi will actually be there at the inaugural session as well. There'll be newer instruments bringing in as well. There'll be newer techniques, how to save water. That's truly beautiful. That's wonderful. But, then at the same time, I actually think about all of those institutes I've been to, while I was, in my educational phase as well. Imagine that I actually went to a university where people were so strict that if, God forbid, I didn't have my necktie on, they won't let me inside the university.
But that's okay. Sorry, I know this is not the discussion, but I have to say it because you were in a business school. A lot of business, students had this issue. Why we can't wear jeans? Why do we have to wear a tie? I mean, it's a decorum. Come on, you should be happy about it, Shahzad. It was a business school.
I mean, I actually wanted to dress like Harry Potter once.
I wish we could do that. And for my 4 years in my bachelor's, I was waiting for that one day in the end of course, before graduation, where it's a costume party and you can dress whatever you want to. And I couldn't attend it. But ladies and gentlemen, it's winter season. And I am telling you this because very soon, of course, right next to my heater, I'm going to do a marathon of all the Harry Potters along with my hot chocolate. It's a seasonal thing, to be honest.
Okay.
But the best part is, when you think that, okay, Harry Potter is over, there's no more movie, one or another day, a fan comes up with such a brilliant thing, you're like, oh my God, I really have to watch it. And what's even better when the fan or the fandom is from Pakistan, ladies and gentlemen, and that too, youngsters, a brilliant, brilliant set of people who are bringing forward this season a newer version, let's say, of Harry Potter.
We actually have a picture.
Yeah, let's take a look at the trailer first. When we come back, we'll discuss it. I'm so excited.
All right, let's do the Government College University, ladies and gentlemen, in Lahore, and the students nailed it. Let's take a look.
आवाज खोल दो.
right, ladies and gentlemen, so that was the trailer. You know, the brilliant students are coming up with an entire film. The trailer was out last year as well. But I think they've done quite a lot during the pandemic time as well.
They
were shooting the film. And that too, obviously, you know, in Harry Potter, you really can actually maintain all the SOPs because all you need to do is to do it with your wand, you know. So anybody and everybody who's right out there, you can be like, okay, you know, whatever. Yeah.
Right, and it was so cute, Shazad. Even the vice chancellor of the GCU University,
Imagine.
he was in the costume and he's wearing the Harry Potter hat, and the hat chooses for him, you belong to Gryffindor, and he's totally going with the vibe. Well, it was absolutely brilliant.
Imagine, look at that. Yeah, it just looks so natural and amazing as well.
And you know why actually they got the idea? One of the students said that the university itself, the campus itself, is actually
Hogwarts School
old.
of Witchcraft and Wizardry.
So it's the GCU Lahore University campus. It's so old, and the building and the architecture sort of gave them the idea of Hogwarts.
Exactly.
And they always wished to be in Hogwarts, and they said, you know what? Why can't we make it Hogwarts?
Yeah.
And they did.
And it's
Isn't
going to
that
continue
brilliant?
till 5th of December as well. So if anybody's missing out on it, please make sure that you go visit the GCU campus as well in Lahore.
Yes.
And you can actually feel as if you're inside the film or the movie itself as well. But
So
other than
much
that,
fun,
I think
yes.
that, this news out there was to kind of feel great
It
about how
was.
talented our Pakistani youngsters and bache are. I think that's how we really need to put it. And I think that they've done a great job. Thanks to, the Vice Chancellor of the university, because, my Vice Chancellor would never let me attend a class without a necktie. Here, he was actually wearing the Harry Potter hat, and that too, the students made him wear it.
He's so cool.
I think that's the kind of people we want in our education institutions. Why not? Let them express, let them do whatever they want to do, and that's how you come up with a brilliant idea.
Yes.
But other than that,
Yeah.
there are a lot of people who actually came up with a lot of brilliant ideas, in terms of life saving. I think that that's something in particular that we will be talking about because, ladies and gentlemen, before heading out to the short break, I said that, there are things, there are problems which might give you a heartache. God forbid, your loved one never called you back, or she never texted you back, or probably, your message was not seen on WhatsApp.
Oh,
I
no.
mean, these are meager
Or
problems.
Or left unseen for that
Yeah,
matter.
or left unseen as well, or is she's like, meri puppo ke ladke se shaadi ho gayi, or something like that. I think the heartache is going to be there. But on a lighter note, it was on a lighter note, but on a serious note, I think that, almost more than 17.9 million people, ladies and gentlemen, every year all over the globe die because of cardiovascular diseases.
And Shazad, you know what? Of course, I mean, they have been a part of human history ever since humans have existed. But with time, the amount of people, now this is sort of contrary to the stats that we have, all right?
Yeah.
So with time, the amount of people with cardiovascular diseases has increased, but we are celebrating the low mortality or morbidity.
Exactly.
Okay, that's absolutely brilliant.
Which has
because
gone
of
down
the-
22%.
Yes, with the intervention of technology. So, but I also want to talk about how to not get there in the first place.
Yeah, I think that's certainly what we want to talk about.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're very lucky that we've actually been joined by somebody who happened to have been really very well qualified as well. He's done his MD FACS from USA, consultant cardiothoracic and vascular surgeon at Maroof International Hospital. Great hospital owned by my friend, alhamdulillah. So, if you're watching out there, I think it's great to have a doctor from your hospital, and that is so well qualified. He, ladies and gentlemen, happens to be Dr. Jamal Rabbi. Hello, sir. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning. How are you?
Good.
You look fresh, sir, mashallah.
Thank you.
Which obviously tells us that, your heart health is great, alhamdulillah. And you actually happen to be the doctor of the heart.
Well,
How are you?
Trying my best.
Wow, that's wonderful. So, sir, I think Shiza made the point clear as well that how can we not reach to a level where, God forbid, we have to, come to you, in the first place. I think
All
for
right.
everybody who's out there.
And to begin with, also please explain to the layman out there what entails all the cardiovascular diseases or issues at all.
All right, so just kind of in a punchline, I mean, in the layman language, what we used to call that a heart attack, that is what they call it, a cardiovascular disease.
Yes.
That heart attack is gonna, the end point, and you reach to this end point through different kind of diseases,
Okay.
And one of them is ischemic heart disease, and then they kind of mix this terminology of having a heart attack and heart failure, all right?
And they're different.
Of course, they're different, So some of the diseases of the heart is going to take you to the heart failure. Heart failure means heart is kind of a pump,
Yeah.
That's going to pump the blood inside your body. Heart failure means that the pump is not functioning to its maximum power, The contractility of the heart has been reduced.
Okay.
Okay, again, the heart attack can also lead to the heart failure.
All right.
But the cause of the heart attack, which the layman language people, in a layman word, they they interpret is that a heart attack, and it's all because when the blood supply to the pump, or what we call, if we are going to give an analogy of the pump, if the electric supply, which makes the pump work, that is stopped, like blood takes all the energy, nutrient and oxygen to the myocardial muscle, to the heart muscle, and then that muscle act as a pump. So there are different kind of terminology that they intermix, but I don't blame them, because before going into the med school, I used to think like that way
In
too,
all honesty, I've done so many shows about it. I still, mix my words too.
Exactly, which is why, very quickly, I think that, sir, you made a very important point over here, and this is for anybody and everybody to understand, because one, obviously, because we're talking about vessels over here, so they say that you obviously, there's a blockade, and and there are other solutions to it as well. But then there's this electric side of the heart as well, the electric signal. And a lot of time, the misinterpretation of the doctor by kind of thinking that, it might be the cardiovascular disease or it might be the electrical problem with the heart. There are two different problems.
The thing is that, that you have an organ which is called a heart. Then there are different things. There's a blood supply is providing the muscles through the vessels, But then there is, that the heart is pumping, right? It beats. Some people kind of say that it's a dumb organ. It beats all his life. The moment it stops, there is no life.
That's what makes me scared at times as well.
So
that it's been beating for so long.
The day, after 3 weeks, that start beating until the time, it's written time for the person to depart from this world. So anyway, so there is it's an organ, right? So some things works for the nutrients of that, and then the electrical part that you're talking about, the impulse, that works for them to be in contractility, that impulses, that for the heart to beat. So so there are different kind of a thing, then there is a muscles of the heart itself. It's a different kind of a tissue. It has different function. So you have a vessel that supplies the blood. Then you have a heart muscles that works by contracting. But that what makes to contract them, it's the electrical impulses.
Wow, that's wonderful.
So it's one organ, but
Thank you very much for making us understand as well. So there are 3 different components, ladies and gentlemen, that too in only one heart. So we have a lot of people over here, but only 3 components. Please make sure that we really need to kind of work on all these 3 as well. So I'm going to start with one of my biggest insecurity. God forbid, I'm going to say it on television. Sometimes, I think that, my heart's just beating in my ear, and, I just cannot help it. I'm like, why do I have to kind of hear this sound every time? Or probably, there are times when I get to hear it. I mean, when I'm doing a show, I'm perfectly fine. As soon as I'm going to go lay down on my bed, all of a sudden I'll be like, dig, dig.
Sometimes it
you
even
hear
beats in
your
the
heartbeats?
thighs, man.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean,
is it normal?
I
it's
I
beating
think
to
that
life,
if your
it should
heart
be
is
good.
okay, it's okay. If
It
your
should be
heart
good.
is okay, then you are normal, right? But I haven't heard people used to hear his heart, not a heartbeat. Yeah, you can call it a heartbeat, but that is because when they have a heart surgery, when we put the implants into it, like if I remove the native valve, instead of that I put a metallic valve, then they kind of, and that also stay like for about 6 months,
That's it.
and then they get used to it,
Okay,
So then they say, all right, then they get used to it. Anyway, okay.
Yeah, go on.
I was just kind of saying that before going into further discussion, I just don't want to miss that part, which she asked me about the preventive side,
Right.
And I'm going to just make it very, because I'm not the preventive specialist or anything, but I
Okay.
know, that, how is that prevention side is, how important it is, So from the preventive side, there are two factors that is going to take you to the heart diseases, majorly, in cardiovascular heart diseases,
Right.
One is that, genetics.
Right.
Okay. One is genetics, right? And then the other is what you call your lifestyle.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
So
So
important.
genetics, we don't have any control over it.
That's true.
Okay.
It's true.
We don't have any control over the genetics, and then the lifestyle is the thing that which is within our control.
But we don't want
we
to.
don't want, So it's gonna to let it go a lot of things that one person likes,
Exactly.
Right.
So anyway, these are the two things, and then the third thing that I really want to emphasize through your show, is that there is a cultural differences. When I was in United States, people over there tend to have their physical checkup once a year. If you don't have anything, still they go to their physician, you know, to see, to have their physical. In Pakistan, you know, they don't do it unless you are in trouble.
Exactly.
Okay, let's
And
put
even
it like,
if you are in trouble, they still don't do it.
they don't do it until it is unbearable.
Exactly. And
So
I know, it's a bad
I actually have
practice.
to add over here. So one day, because, you know, I think that's the kind of grooming we got from our household as well, that, you know, my father has always been of the sort that, God forbid, even if you think that there's a problem, go to the doctor, get it checked up so that it's not in your head. So imagine that, you know, one day I think I was overworked or what, so I was traveling back home and all of a sudden I felt as if, you know, I have chest pain. So they say anything below the neck and
Above the-
above
their
the stomach, I
diaphragm.
was like, you know, get your heart checked. I was like, man, my doctors are still so young, I really need to get myself checked out. Sir, I went to the hospital and I told them that, hey, you know what, I'm feeling chest pain, please make sure that you do an ECG or whatever it takes to kind of check whether my heart's working properly or not. And you know what they said? They said, sir, we have checked your blood pressure, your pulse, everything's fine, there's no need for the ECG. I was like, I'm telling you to do my ECG, man, do my ECG and let me know if that's fine or not. So, I mean, you do get paranoid as well, but imagine that the right SOPs are not in place. But I'll hold you here, sir, because we actually have a
Right.
small report to share, and that too about the technological advancements within the field of cardiovascular diseases, ladies and gentlemen, and how people, alhamdulillah, are getting better and back to a healthier life as well. But we can avoid that. How is something Dr. Saab will answer, but after this small report.
Let's do it.
Cardiovascular diseases are the leading cause of death globally, taking an estimated 17.9 million lives each year. More than 4 out of 5 cardiovascular diseases deaths are due to heart attacks and strokes, and 1/3 of these deaths occur prematurely in people under 70 years of age. Although the threat of cardiovascular diseases seems to be present but has reduced highly due to advancement in medical facilities. The treatment options will vary depending on the type of heart disease a person has, but some common strategies include making lifestyle changes, taking medications, and undergoing surgery. There are few medications to be taken to prevent chronic heart problems, including medicines that prevent clots, reduce the heart rate, and lower blood pressure. Undergoing heart surgery can help treat blockages and heart problems when medications are not effective. Some major surgeries include coronary artery bypass surgery, coronary angiography, valve replacement or repair, repair surgery, and device implantation. In Pakistan, although the development is needed, but there have been several record-breaking surgeries and treatments given to patients that help to save lives. Recently, cardiac surgery was performed by the renowned US-trained cardiovascular surgeon Dr. Jamal. Moreover, in Pakistan, a 3-year-old girl survived the heart surgery. So one can conclude that although the risks have immensely reduced, but it needs to be acknowledged that threats are still prevalent and proper precautionary measures need to be taken.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, so that was a small report. I hope that everybody will actually have now more faith and more trust in the newer technological advancements within the field of cardiovascular illnesses as well. And obviously, there are a lot of treatments. But very quickly, to talk about mortality and morbidity, we only have last 5 minutes. So I think I'm just going to move on to Dr. Jamal. So, sir, please
All right.
take it away.
So I'm going to just make it like, you know, in a very concise way, you know, to explain that, you know, the novel techniques, you know. Initially, you know, like in 1970, it will be only heart surgery. So if somebody would have a heart attack, the answer is that, you know, either given a medication
Bypass.
or if they bypass surgery. Now we have a stent technology. But one thing over here, I'm just going to mention it that stent is never a replacement for surgery and surgery is never a replacement for stents.
Okay.
So it is like that some people is going to get to have a stent and get benefit from the stent, and some people is going to get a surgery, and some people would be, of course, unfortunately, it's not going to benefit from any of these things. So coming to those people who are not going to benefit from those from any of these kind of treatments, you know, so like we will call it is an end stage disease. So when it comes to an end stage disease, you know, they used to do heart transplant because then the heart needs to be transplanted, you know, I mean, he needs to have another heart, you know. But now we have more devices that it can remain, they can have their own heart, but they will put the assist devices, you know, that they will help their, no, that's pacemaker is a little bit different than, but it's also kind of when electrical activity of the heart is being interrupted, then we put the pacemaker so that the blockade, you know, is kind of go away. But ventricular assist device, I think that this technology will change more, and by maybe, you know, 2050, you know, I think that the death from the hearts is going to be kind of
I hope we make it at 20.
Yeah, it's going to be very minuscule kind, because the way the technology is changing now. The assist devices used to be this much big, of that table size, and now they come like with this much, that they can put it, nobody knows, and they can have a normal lifestyle. They can go to the restaurants, and they can have like kind of daily kind of activities.
Yeah, and they can do whatever.
Yeah, coming down to this other part of it, by the innovations, and technology, improvement. The mortality and morbidity has been reduced, The medication has been improved. The medication for the cholesterol has been so much improved that you can have a normal cholesterol with those medication. And that if you started at the right time of your, life, you won't even have the blockages, in your 60s or 70s.
Right.
But that needs to be done in the proper time period, It's not like that if you get a heart attack and then you say, all right, start those medication on me. That's not going to work like this.
Yeah.
So you need to have,
It's too late.
yeah. So then, you need to check your stuff, at the age of 40, and if they find something, they can fix things around. So you won't have those diseases in 60s, what you can prevent it by having in 40s those medications,
So it's certainly like a stitch in time saves nine.
That's correct. Completely, I totally agree. And then the last thing that I would kind of mention is that the mortality of operations and all those has been reduced because we have been more well versed in the heart surgeries. And I would quote the statistics from United States, from the east to west coast of USA, and these are the data. And I'm giving these data because I trained over there,
Yeah.
So these data is that for heart surgery, the mortality is less than 2%. So if we do 100 people, out of 100 people, less than 2% is not going to make it,
Might not
yeah,
make
yeah,
it, right?
yeah. So that is I'm not saying that is the mortality over here in Pakistan, but that's what kind of it
Wow,
is.
that's wonderful. Thank you very much, Dr. Jamal, for being with us. Lovely to be in conversation with such, first of all, handsome, good-looking, and good heart health advice giver as well. Thank you very much for being with us.
Pleasure is mine.
Lovely to have you over here as well. For everybody who's out there, ladies and gentlemen, the sole purpose is that each and every one of you out there looks after your health as well, and do not fall prey to all of those jalebis and gulab jamuns every single day, because it can actually have an impact on your health.
I agree, but I don't know how to stop at jalebi, but for sure, I think that's a very Pakistani thing. Ladies and gentlemen, today, your task, I would rather say, is to sit with your family and sort of convince them, or at least start a discussion of, hey, let's go get our annual checkups, because it is very important. Till the next time, take care. We'll see you tomorrow at the same time, inshallah. Write to us on all our social media pages with the name of
Well, this morning, look after yourselves. 1, 2, 3. Good morning.
morning.
Thank you. Thank you.